Have you ever heard of the Hollow Woods? It's a remote forest in the Pacific Northwest with a dark reputation. Over the last 30 years, people have gone missing there. Campers, hikers, even seasoned survivalists. The locals tell stories of eerie whispers and shadows that move on their own. Most dismiss it as urban legend. But what if I told you this place has a secret that nobody wants to talk about? Until now. This is the story of Rachel and Mark, two amateur filmmakers who ventured into the Hollow Woods in search of answers. What they found was far beyond what they expected. Rachel and Mark were true crime enthusiasts with a small but growing YouTube channel. Their latest idea? Investigate the Hollow Woods disappearance cases. They planned a weekend trip to document the area and interview anyone who could shed light on the mystery. Equipped with cameras, flashlights, and survival gear, they set off on a crisp autumn morning. The first day was uneventful. They met a few locals who warned them not to go too deep into the woods. One old man, sitting outside a gas station, muttered, "Stay on the marked trails. The woods don't like trespassers." Mark brushed it off as superstition, but Rachel couldn't shake the unease in his voice. That night, they camped near a clearing, setting up a small fire. Rachel reviewed footage while Mark talked excitedly about editing ideas. But as the night deepened, they started hearing noises. At first it was subtle, branches snapping, leaves rustling. Then came the whispers, faint and distant, like a conversation just out of earshot. Mark laughed nervously. Probably the wind. Rachel wasn't so sure. She suggested they sleep in shifts. Mark agreed but fell asleep almost immediately, leaving Rachel to keep watch. Around 2 a.m., Rachel spotted something. Just beyond the tree line, a shadow moved, too large to be an animal. She grabbed the camera and whispered, "Mark, wake up." But before she could shake him awake, the shadow vanished. The next morning, they ventured deeper into the woods, following the direction of the shadow. They stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin, covered in moss and vines. Inside, they found something chilling. Polaroid photos pinned to the walls. They were pictures of people, campers, hikers, families. Some of the faces looked eerily familiar from missing person reports Rachel had researched. One photo caught their attention. It was dated 3 weeks ago and showed a man in his mid-30s. His eyes were wide with fear, and he seemed to be running. Scribbled on the back were the words, "He's watching." As they left the cabin, they felt it, a presence. The air grew heavy, and the forest seemed to close in around them. Mark turned on his camera, whispering, "We need to document this." Then came the sound. Heavy footsteps, twigs snapping, getting closer. They ran, heart pounding, but the forest felt endless. No matter which way they turned, they couldn't find the trail. Rachel screamed as she tripped over something. It was a human skull, half buried in the dirt. Mark pulled her up, and they sprinted until they saw it, a clearing with an old watchtower. They climbed it, hoping for a vantage point. From the top, they saw him. A figure, tall and gaunt, standing at the edge of the clearing. His face was obscured, but he held something shiny. A knife. In the watchtower, they found a journal left behind by a forest ranger. The entries spoke of a hermit who lived in the woods, a man who went mad after his family disappeared there decades ago. The ranger had tried to warn authorities, but nobody believed him. The last entry read, "If you're reading this, it's too late. He's always watching." The footsteps below grew louder. The figure was climbing the watchtower. Mark and Rachel had nowhere to go. Desperate, Rachel remembered the emergency flare in her bag. She lit it and threw it down. The dry leaves caught fire, quickly spreading. The figure let out a guttural scream and disappeared into the smoke. The fire attracted the attention of a search and rescue team, who found Mark and Rachel hours later. They were shaken, but alive. They reported everything: the cabin, the photos, the journal. Authorities launched an investigation, but the cabin was gone, consumed by the fire. The figure was never found. Mark and Rachel uploaded their footage, but it only deepened the mystery. Was the hermit real? Or was it something else? Something supernatural? The Hollow Woods kept its secrets, but one thing was certain: they were lucky to escape. The Hollow Woods remains a place of unanswered questions. Mark and Rachel's story is a chilling reminder that some places are better left unexplored. So, the next time you hear whispers in the woods, remember, you might not be alone.